I'm going to bring in an elevated toning now that is married to the energy of Metatron. Metatron brings himself into the world through an elevated series of substances. These substances come out of the central vortex of Orion's belt and are constructed towards another energetical structure which takes them through to the central sun of Sirius B. Most of these constructions come out of a system of higher elevated mind structures, and they are constructed through a series of elevated presences that have been in our world through many different series of life forms. The latest form of Metatron came through 350 billion years ago. He has not been on this planet since then, and he moves in and out of the central vortex, which is just off Orion's belt. When he comes through in his own words, he wishes to express a movement of time. The time is the construction of where we are going within the next months, and the months then lead into the years, because the years are the next formation that we need to look at once we have passed through the cerebral vortex that will be entered when we go through the passageway on the 21st of December 2012. They call this a cerebral vortex because in fact it is a vortex system. It's a centralized vortex system of lighted presences. Each presence actually holds weight and is constructed into the lower evangelical formations of the physical body. The physical body is constructed, as we know, on 7 chakras. The chakra systems are all formations of elevations, and the elevations take us through into our own central vortex, which is the construction of the Kundalini line, which goes through our spinal column, takes us into our cerebral vortex, and eventually will connect us to our own higher God. Our own higher God is the construction that moves us from this planet to the next planet. And the next planet, in fact, is the vortex system where we all initially appeared from. Most constructions on this planet have originated through the central vortex system off Orion's belt, though they have played to be in line with many other planets over the millions and billions of years that we have all been constructed as living light orbs. Each individual on every planet of over 250,000 species, that is of a form of humankind, actually create themselves as lighted forms of energies. Not all come in globular form, but many do. We come out of the circular form of lighted energy, which first constructed through the central vortex system when Orion actually opened its gates and the vortex started moving many hundreds of thousands of billions of years ago. Time is very difficult to actually ascertain, and time is very difficult for me to actually publish or to bring through to you in the way I'm speaking now. From my own personal experience, I am talking to you through the higher mind of Metatron. Through Metatron's experience, he is actually guiding my thought patterns at this moment. He is actually bringing through his own thoughts through my cerebral vortex. My cerebral vortex at this time is constructed on a much higher level through into the Elohaem. The Elohims are maybe a series of notes you might have once heard of, because each toning brings in a separate noted presence. Every being from every world has their own separate toning, and the experience of the Elohim is if and when they can place every noted system to one structure, then everyone will start to vibrate again with the same chords. And if the entire planet were able to construct under one note again, then we can start to reverberate like we did when we originally came through the planetary walls and circumnavigated the planets to enable ourselves to restructure once again back to the chords of love. The chords of love move us through a series of structures, and these structures actually elevate us through the 7 notes of the 8 octave. 8 being the symbol of love, as in the Star of Isis, as in the elongated, eventually never-ending circles that we take now to be the number 8. Number 8 has always brought us very close to the presence of beauty, because when we think of 8 and Isis, we do imagine love. Isis herself was only a human form when she joined the planet as a human being. She is actually only an energetical structure, and in her heightened presence she is neither male nor female. Though many people on the planet today like to worship her as though she was a goddess, she was in fact just another lighted energy that comes out of the central Elohaem, which is very like the other heightened energies that some of you know today as Jesus, though we prefer to take his more ancient name of Asa, because as Asa he performed many miracles, but as Jesus he was only a construction through a Greek name entered into a biblical book that in fact is only an expression of the Hermetic sciences. The Hermetic sciences are a formal guideline for us to understand the planetary movements, and if and when we can take our minds to understanding astrology on its purest form, we can then understand that the astrological movements of time bring us back through the vortexes to the hope of being able to recreate the next mind movement, which is the total structure that we entered into about 50,000 years ago to bring us up to today's date. Today's date is the 1st of December. The 1st of December is a heightened energetical presence because it is a 1 plus a 1 plus a 2. If we then go into 2012 and we marry the numbers together, we bring ourselves to a separate elevation of time. Each date brings a precise elevation. So when we add these numbers up, we can decide if we take the elevation or we don't. The elevation of numbers brings us onto a certain chord or discord, depending on whether we want to accept information, or we want to clarify information, or we just want to use information. When we accept information through our cerebral vortex, we are actually bringing home the ascended masters. When we speak as I do, through the messages of Metatron at this moment, I am actually giving you the words of Metatron, but he is speaking through my cerebral vortex, so I am feeling and understanding his pure vibrational tones. If he was speaking directly at this moment to you through another voice, he will be standing outside me. By speaking through my own cerebral vortex structures, he is actually coming from within me. And that is because my structure from within is married to his structure from within, because he leads me through the vortexes to his heart of the Elohaem. The Elohaem Brotherhood has also been stationed on this planet under different forms. Many of you are very likely to know this as the White Brotherhood. The White Brotherhood has had a series of very elevated energies over many millions of years, and they bring themselves to a very heightened energetical structure of positioning themselves closely to the Sirius sun of B. The B energy is the highest constructed female form that we can actually touch, but they have always informed us that Sirius B actually carried femininity. The feminine form is in fact the alpha image of A. The bee and the roundness of her bee-like movement, as in the honeybeam, has always been the queen. The queen bee actually structures us into understanding that when we wish for sweetness, we must realign ourselves with the vortexes that brings in the sunlight of C. Therefore we have the alpha male image of A. We carry the queen bee in her bee-line as being the roundest and greatest orange globe in all of the atmospheric worlds above. And then we ask the sun, our child, to light himself, to bring home the Son of God, being Sirius C in all his glory. As the C image, he is the one to reconstruct. As the image of the Holy Bible, we would say the Mother, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, because they changed the word father to mother. They changed mother to meaning a man. And when they say father, they do not mean a man, they mean a leader. Every book has guided us to the incorrect informational regions of our minds. Every book has been disguised by thoughts that we don't need to think. And every energetical construction of any of the modern day languages has led us to disbelieve the truth behind the true belief systems, which we can only actually gravitate our minds towards if we understand that before sound we had light. Light brought in a formal coding structure when it flashes on and off, and that is where numerology started. We began with a series of flashing lights. The flashing lights contained within the central vortexes actually allowed the spring-like movements that created the planets to re-encompass all the atomic structures, to bring them back into line again, so we could move ourselves into restructuring planetary forces, as in pulling in a series of lighted globes that could pull in the different forms of magma, the different forms of cellular energies, and bring them into base structures which we call nowadays planets. When we made these movements, because we all made these movements, you made them, and he made them, and she made them, and even I made them too. Every single human living form was responsible for the construction of the worlds. And the reason we could do this was because we were all realigned to understanding that when we can touch our own reality, when we can understand our own formal presence of being as a beautiful light globe, when we join all these light globes in excellence of understanding that we are only here to procreate love, then we go back into the vortex structures, we breathe in the ether again of purity, and we can realign ourselves back into being hope. When we recreate hope in our hearts, then we can recreate the planets to perfection. And that is what we did when we came through the central vortex, guided by the highest of our leaders through the Elohaem, and started procreating all the species that now live within the guided worlds of this solar system. We are not alone. We never were alone. We move through the central vortexes now on a species level of 250 million. That is within our own central framework. We are just one number of many, and therefore we have to understand that if we really truly want to procreate again a new species, a new development, a new alignment of pure and anatomically designed manifestations of God, as in our own children, then we have to be pure. And the only way we can really be pure again is to trust in ourselves and find love again. And the love that we need to find is the love that's in our own heart for ourselves. It's the love that's in our heart for the different species that we marry each day in the lives that we move in. And it's the love for all the other species of all the other worlds.